Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we have Michaela Stock in our presence still, a proud Indigenous woman. The Yass Valley Council recognises the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of the land, water and sky. We pay our respect to their elders past, present and future emerging leaders, and we extend our respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who live in the Yass Valley local government area. Now the prayer. Councillors, you'll find this on page 2 of your agenda. Let us be still and remember the presence of God. As we commence our meeting, let us pray together for guidance and help. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the true welfare of Australia and the people of Yass Valley. Amen. Please be seated. So firstly, I'd like to do our apologies and grant a leave of absence for Councillor McGrath. We have a consensus, all in favour?
Yes.
And our next point of business is to accept Councillor Flannery into our meeting via Teams. Do we have consensus? Thank you. Next, we'll need to bring in our late reports, item 6.15.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this has been brought forward as a late report, mainly because the request has been with Council for a while, and certainly in one of the cases, it's a direction is needed to be able to support some grant applications that would otherwise be ineligible if they don't receive a decision tonight.
Councillor Flannery, if you would like to put your hand signal on to demonstrate that you would like to speak, or visually, if anyone could give you a little reminder. You're quite small on our screen at the moment. All right, starting with our declaration of pecuniary interests and special disclosures.
Through you, Madam Mayor, perhaps I'll just remind you of the induction session that we had the other day. In terms of declarations of an interest, if it's a pecuniary interest, you need to declare it and not participate in the debate or the decision making of the meeting. Remembering that it's not just your personal conflict of interest, it extends to people you know, organisations you're involved in, potentially, and spouses and the like. So similarly with significant non-pecuniary interests, they require you to also make a declaration and leave the meeting and not participate in the discussion or the debate. So, for instance, you might have you might be part of a community organisation and you hold a office at you're not just simply a member of the organisation, but you might hold office of a president or a committee member of such an organisation. That would be a significant non-pecuniary interest because you're in a decision-making role as part of that organisation. Obviously, if you're just a mere member of the organisation, that's very different. And then the final one is that you have a non-pecuniary, insignificant pecuniary interest. So just a reminder that we did talk about that at the deduction meeting last week. Just to remind you again of
Councillors, I will kick off with mine. I'm going to declare an interest in item 6.3 because the applicant is known to me through a working group of friendship, and also in the confidential session relating to the nominees, 10.1, an alternate nominee is known to me through a similar situation. Councillors, do you have any declarations?
Madam Mayor, if I may, a question. I'm a member of the SCA, but I've not been involved in any discussions relating to the playground. Non-pecuniary interests.
If you're simply a member, I can't advise you personally, but
I
as a...
am still a member of the SCA.
Yeah.
I used to be a member of the executive, but I am and I was not involved in any of those discussions.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Burgess.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, 6.13, 6.13, Bango, it's the council committee, Bango Wind Farm. I received money from Bango Wind Farm because there's a neighbour for it.
I take it you'll be leading the room. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. I just declare that I've got a significant non-pecuniary interest for the closed session, item 10.1. I have a relationship with one of the applicants that has been put forward. So I will leave the room for that discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Flattery. I'll just correct you because on the document there was an error. It was it's actually 6.15, but in the original it says 6.1. So we'll note that for 6.15. Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Any further declaration, Councillor Cameron?
Not a declaration, but a question. I think we now have the mayor and the deputy mayor both leaving the room for 10.1.
You will need to appoint a chair during that
Thank you.
process. And we still have quorum. I've been counting in my head.
All right, thank you.
Let's commence. Okay, first of all, confirmation of minutes, item 4. Can someone confirm and put the minutes? Councillor Burgess, seconded.
No, there's a minor error that I'd like to correct in those. I took the oath of office, not the confirmation, so we got that correct.
Thank you, Councillor Carter, for noting that. Do we have a second? And seconding, thank you. Any comments on the minutes? We'll put it to a vote. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Moving on to our reports to council. Starting off, 6.1, the plan of management, Marbaman Old Schoolhouse and Playground site.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you go.
Madam Mayor, just before we start the debate, may I ask a question about those director?
Why don't we get this moved and then questions?
Yes.
Okay, so Councillor Butler.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd actually like to move an alternate recommendation which I've sent to Katie for the purpose of debate. I'll read it out while we get it up on the board. Sorry, I've lost power on my computer. So the alternate motion reads that consideration of the draft Old Marbaman Schoolhouse and Playground Plan of Management be deferred until the November 2024 Council meeting to allow further discussions with the Honourable Local Aboriginal Land Council. And I'd be more than happy to add in with the Marbaman Community Association in that alternate if they wish to be a part of the formal consultations that we might have in between that.
So Councillor, just reading you that you'd like to add MCA into the recommendation.
I would be happy to do that. Do you have a
We don't
recommendation?
have the alternate motion, so we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did send it and now I can't send it because my computer's
We
down.
don't access the emails at this point in time.
Can I just give you my phone and you
Yes,
can read it
yes,
out
yes,
from
thank
that,
you.
not type it out? But I will need a second for that to debate.
Can I just check with councillor Flannery, was that hand up to second or to also ask a question?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, Madam Mayor?
Councillor Flannery, you have your hand up, was that to second a motion or to ask a
I
question?
can't, what I'm trying to do is get rid of that little hand up, so that's why I'm kind of screwing up my face trying to work out how to do that, so just
Okay.
ignore the little hand.
Alright. Councillors, we'll just take a moment while the motion is prepared for the screen. Councillor Butler, would you like to read it out loud one more time? Oh, you've got that, yeah.
My memory is not that good at
Yeah,
the moment.
that's okay.
So I'm just looking up, just things right, that's all. It's dropped off in minutes.
So the alternate motion was that consideration of the draft Old Marbaman schoolhouse and playground plan of management be deferred until the November 2024 council meeting to allow further discussions with the Honourable Local Aboriginal Land Council, and you'd like to add in the Marbaman Community Association.
Just in light of Ms Helm's comments tonight, I think for formalities, if we could be inclusive as well, that would be great. Thank you.
Is there any other organisations that councillors believe needs to be added to that, just as we're okay.
So that's moved, councillor Butler, or is it seconded?
Secondly,
Any seconder? Councillor Cameron? Alright, can I just go to councillor Chari for his question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Question goes for the Director of Planning. Ms Costa, could you please, just for the sake of those who new to chamber, just question clarification more than anything, can you elaborate on the timeline for this delivery and also the indication of the deferral?
Excellent question, thank you councillor Chari.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, just in relation to the open forum and the Aboriginal land claim, the land claim was lodged with Crown Lands, I've been advised, on the 15th of October, so at that point we had actually finalised the plan of management. I think that needs to be on the record for the information of the councillors. In terms of the delivery of the playground, if it was to continue on the site which council has endorsed, which is the old schoolhouse, the deferment will result in the plan of management being brought back to council at the November council meeting. We need to report to the funding body in December as to whether or not we're going to meet the milestone in April, which is 20% of the works, which is essentially site establishment and excavation. I think at this stage, because we would have to go to tender as well for this work, that we would not make that first, that milestone in April. We'll have to have that conversation with the grant provider.
Madam Mayor, if I can, just ask a question. Question process, what's the expected timeframe for the determination on the legal side? Do we have the
So through you, Madam Mayor, council actually doesn't determine the Aboriginal land claim, and so that's a matter for Crown Lands. Based on previous experience, we could be notified in 12 weeks' time, 2 weeks' time, a year, 2 years' time. Just for a matter of record, the guidelines from Crown Lands in relation to plans of management and Aboriginal land claims is that the plan of management can still be considered by council and adopted. The Aboriginal land claim essentially sits side by side.
Councillors,
Yeah.
yeah,
Further
councillor
question
Carter.
to Director of Planning and Environment through Madam Mayor, are there alternative sites that we might be able to move forward with in a quicker framework if we had to, or there were delays to our process, or is there a risk that we might be looking at losing ground?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so the resolution of council on site selection also essentially said if there were difficulties with this particular site, for council to then moving the playground to the Marbaman recreation ground. There's a number of issues with that and how it fits with the grant funding, in that the Marbaman recreation group, focus group of the ground, focus group, I think they're called, they are aware of the proposal that the rec grounds might be the secondary option for the playground. However, from memory, that was agreed that if that did become the preferred site, that we would have to go back to them. So we haven't essentially signed off with the recreation ground user groups around a possible location. The second issue with the Marbaman recreation ground, because we don't have an actual location determined, but we have some idea of where it might be, that if it affects Crown land, then we need to finalise the plan of management for that piece of land, incorporating obviously the establishment of a playground. For memory, the strategic plan for the Marbaman rec ground also does not identify a playground, but I'll I think stand corrected if I'm wrong on that. So we would still need to go through that process, and we definitely would not meet our deadline in April. The other thing is we have to complete environmental assessment work, which we're undertaking on the schoolhouse site at the moment, or we've engaged them to undertake that work. We've obviously then, we have to do that same work at the Marbaman recreation ground, so potentially, yes, my view is we would not meet the deadline for the first milestone in April 25, so again, that's a conversation with the grant provider.
Councillors, do we have any further questions or anyone speaking for or against the motion?
I'd like to speak for the motion. I originally was going to speak against the motion, but in the deferral question, I think we need to be mindful, Madam Mayor, that under the Aboriginal Land Rights Act, and particularly with respect to the New South Wales Government directions with respect to that particular legislation, and my thanks to Michaela for reading from some of those documents, which is really important for us to hear. We do have to be careful what we do with that land, and there is some risk that some of the things we're proposing might have the effect of defeating an Aboriginal land claim. I think that wouldn't be particularly an effective use of Council's resource and time at this particular point, at this moment. And the reasons for that is because things like essential public use, which a playground could be classified under, and has been previously in other jurisdictions, not in New South Wales, might lead to an issue with respect to the rights of the local land Aboriginal Council. So I think we have to be very cautious about how we might move forward with even reconsidering that plan. If we do get approval from the Land Council that they are comfortable with us moving with this project, then of course we may reconsider that at a later point in time. But I think we just have to be cautious about there is a risk that deferral also is going to lead to future rejection of the plan, given that of course we want to work closely with the local Ngunnawal people and others as well. Thanks, Madam.
Another question, or speaking for or against?
For the motion. Through you, I'd like to personally acknowledge Ms. Picard-Stopp, and I really appreciate her taking the time out to speak to us today. Her input is really valuable to this conversation, and the fact that she's reached out to us already and sat down with yourself and with the director just demonstrates Honourable's willingness to engage with this elected body. I'm personally very heartened by that, and I see this as a great opportunity to bring them into further discussions, broader context when it comes to the Yass community.
For clarity, I might ask a question of the director as well. In terms of the land claim, that's more recently moved across to several of the other lots, so as of a fortnight or a week ago, is that correct? So as of last week, it's moved across these. So in good faith, the original plan of management was put together, acknowledging which lot it was on. Can I get clarification on comments around if the lots are amalgamated or not?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So, Council considered a report in December 2022 relating to essentially this Crown land precinct which exists in Marbaman, and lot 55, to which this draft POM applies to, we had asked the Crown Lands if council could add an additional purpose, and I think it was extend the Crown Reserve. I'd have to go back and check the details. And also the Department of Education were interested in part of lot 55. The Department of Education are no longer interested, so the whole of the Crown Reserve management has transferred to council for lot 55. We haven't amalgamated any reserves as part of that process, or the Crown Lands hasn't. It is still the same 3 lots that were there, previous to this happening. Lot 7300 and the other lot 7301, they are not part of the POM, they are part of the Aboriginal land claim, and one of those lots was subject to a separate land claim previously, and that was acknowledged in that report to council in December 2022.
And my final question, are there any examples within the Yass Valley area where we have plans of management in place in lockstep with any land claims or on all owned land?
I'm not aware of any, but that doesn't mean that there are not. We don't automatically get notified of Aboriginal land claims. That they all go to Crown Lands and they come through to us over time to comment on the land claim. Usually we comment around if we have any infrastructure on the land and use of the land.
If I could just ask the Chief Executive Officer, would the Yass Board qualify as where we have a plan of management and there's on-law land as well?
My understanding is that no, it's not on the land. We have Crown land, we have privately owned land, and we have council owned land. I'm not aware of any claim on that land, but it is a bit of a dog's breakfast, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I acknowledge that. There's a lot of jigsaw pieces in there. I was just hoping that there was a precedent there where we could demonstrate a plan of management working side by side with a land claim, but if not, that's okay. Any further speakers against or for? I think we're ready to vote. Councillors, all those in favour of the motion before you? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, councillors. Moving on to item 6.2, the gateway determination for the heritage listing in Yass Valley Local Environment Plan 2013. We have a recommendation for us to note the report. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Butler. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Chari. Any speakers for or against or questions?
Madam Mayor,
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell.
well, I think we need to let them get all the documents so that we can make a proper decision.
Through the Madam Mayor, we don't make the decision on the gateway.
No, so that they can,
We don't make the decision on the gateway.
but we can get them the information, don't we?
That's up to the department. As I understand it, they've made requests to the department for that information. But the decision in relation to whether a gateway is issued or not issued remains with the department, not with the council. We applied for a gateway based on the work that we've done and in good faith, and the department has assessed it as not receiving a gateway decision. So that would be a review that the department would need to be done with that extra information that they will be able to get through the giver request.
Councillor Roswell, I'll just direct your question to our Director of Planning for a response.
Through you, Madam Mayor. They potentially could ask for a gateway review. They've got 42 working days to lodge that, so I would encourage them, if that's what they would like to do, to actually go onto the website and contact the Department of Planning for that discussion. I will note that when Council considered the matter in April 2024 in the Council report, we did note that there were some deficiencies in the work that had been submitted. However, we agreed to put it off for the gateway determination, and as the CEO has said, Council is not the determining authority for the gateway.
Yeah, but
Yeah, there is provision, just noting that it happened in late August, so my understanding it's 42 working days, so they would be getting close, but they could explore that avenue.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Flannery, was that a hand up or an adjustment?
You're on mute.
Councillor Flannery, if you can unmute.
There we go.
Yeah, perfect. Councillor Flannery, you're on.
I recognise that the recommendation is around noting that the gateway application has been refused. I just really would like to speak on behalf of the lessees of those cabins that I do feel that the process was flawed from the start. Having been a community member and participating down at Swinging Bridge, I feel that having those cabins and having people in those cabins is an important surveillance, is important for surveillance of the area and also care. I note that the department sees that public land should be for the public, but I don't feel that they're excluded. So I'm really supportive of the people that have brought it forward, and as a new council member, I'd like to see how I can support them. So I recognise the recommendation. I'm not speaking for or against it. I'm just noting that I feel that it's important to have those cabins.
Taking Councillor Flannery's comments on board, I'd like to ask the Director of Planning, would it be appropriate for Council to write a letter of support to include with the residents, if they chose to, objection and request for a review?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd suggest that the proponent go and have that conversation with the department first, because I'm not really aware of how that works and the cost of that process. And then if they feel that they need something of support from council, we can provide the advice that, you know, of the decisions that council had made previously in relation to the heritage system.
Okay, excellent. Look, I think councillors that are new to this issue, this was very much a David and Goliath battle. Council is in a very difficult position because protecting the road asset is essential to provide access. And noting that I think just 3 of these shacks is on council land and the remainder is on Crown land. And it appears to be a very difficult situation for the people that lease those cabins. A lot of history dating back to I think the 1930s, and while it's not much to look at on your approach, there's a lot of memories that are held in those buildings for the families that have had generational connection with them. If there's no further comments for or against, yes,
Through your question for CEO. I'm just very acknowledging that this this motion is asking us to note the gateway determination. Can you just please enlighten us as to what would be the implications of us not noting that?
Really nothing. As I said, the gateway determination is not a council decision, it's a Department of Planning decision. And anyone seeking a review of that decision goes to the Department of Planning, not to council. We may be asked for our opinion, and as the Director has indicated, we will certainly provide information in relation to past reports of council in relation to that. So, if you don't note it, there'll be just no decision at all in relation to the report, and that's how it will be recorded, no decision. I would strongly recommend that you note the report, otherwise it'll be left in no man's land.
I recall in former councils, and I'm not sure whether this still applies, Mr. Berry, but when councillors felt very lukewarm about a decision from the state government, we received the report. I'm not sure if that has any place anymore.
Through humanity, If it's on your agenda, you've already received it.
All right, so I'm sorry to say, councillors, but for this purposes, it may be forced to note it. And I think there's a lot of goodwill around the council chambers for the plight of the shack lessings, and I appreciate the fight that they've had today, and I acknowledge council's role in providing opportunities to get them access to that heritage listing, and I'm so sorry that this hasn't resulted in a win. Councillors, prepare to vote. All those in favour of noting? All those except Councillor Rothwell against? Councillors, I'm going to vacate the chair for item 6.3 and bring in Councillor Butler. Be gentle. Thank you, Councillor Swart.
I'm not actually quite sure what to do now that I'm here. But we are looking at item 6.3, the 2024-25 Local Heritage Grants Program. And we have a recommendation. Thank you. So the recommendation is that 1, the expenditure and reimbursement for the 2023-24 Local Heritage Grants Program be noted, and that 2, the following funding be provided in the 2024-25 Local Heritage Grant Program. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Thank you so much. Oh, we would need a rubric. Thank you, Councillor Cameron, who seconded that. Thank you, Councillor Carter. Are there any questions or comments?
Can I just make one comment? Thanks, Madam Deputy Mayor. I think this is a slightly extraordinary in the sense that these decisions have been made without the input of council. Normally that would be the case, as what I understand. I think it's important we have that on the record. I think it's just because of election time frame. I hope that we can look at moving that at a future point in time to avoid that particular oversight challenge. But I think from what I can see, the decisions are generally fine. So happy to move forward with the suggestions. But I think just from a process point of view, it would be great to have council involved in all these decisions moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Perhaps you could form a motion for one of our next meetings that would suggest that, and we can adopt it.
Through Deputy Mayor, if I could just say something. Yes, we normally do involve councillors in that panel for the assessment. It was disappointing this year, the timing was just not right for that to happen, but it is normal process. Every other year that I've been here is that we include the council.
Are we prepared to vote? So all those for the motions? That is unanimous.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. We are now up to planning proposal 6.4, 34 Isabel Drive, Marbaman. Just get up to this page here. We have a recommendation before us that it be adopted and the amendment to the Yass Local Environment Plan 2013 be made by council as the local plan making authority. Do we have a mover?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Burgess. Councillors, any debate? Any questions? Would the mover like to speak? And we'll go straight through to the keeper. Well done, councillors. All those in favour? So moved, unanimously. Oh, sorry, councillor Flannery, that was a yes? Yeah, thank you. Okay,
It's a yes.
thank you. Okay.
Work that back.
Moving on to item 6.5, the applications update. It's just for noting, councillors Amuba. Seconder, councillor Burgess. Any commentary, councillors? All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you, councillors. All right, just making sure we're not putting the pedal to the metal too fast. Councillors, item 6.6, our development application DA 230401, the use of existing structure 5 Ambleside Avenue, Marbaman. We have a recommendation before us, councillors. Do we have a mover? Councillor Rothwell, do I have a seconder? So, councillor Cameron, thank you. I'm keeping one eye on the screen for councillor Flannery as well. Before we start, do we have any commentary from our director about this particular item?
Through you, Madam Mayor, this particular development application relates to the use of an existing structure as a workshop at 5 Ambleside Avenue in Marbaman, and it's recommended for refusal. There's two reasons for that. One is that council has refused a building information certificate application that was made in relation to this particular building due to the extent of non-compliance with the National Construction Code. And the council is unable to issue consent for use without confirming that the structure will not cause a risk to its occupants. And secondly, there's insufficient information really to characterise the use of the structure for the purposes of the LAP. Therefore, council cannot make an assessment of the actual merits and likely impacts of that actual development. Just noting that in the report it does state that the applicant is not proposing any construction works, so hence the plans that are submitted do not reflect what is there on the ground at the moment, and given that they're not proposing any construction works, then the information we have is not adequate to be able to consider issuing a development consent essentially for the work, or for the proposal I should say, for the use.
Councillors, I have a question for the director. In the circumstances where, generally speaking, where applicants request a deferment based on their inability to present at open forum, has this been used in the past and been accepted by council? Is this common practice to defer in those instances or not?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not aware of my time with council where we've been asked for the deferment of the determination of an application on the basis that the applicant can't speak at the open forum. It's a matter for council to determine whether it's appropriate to defer it or whether to, essentially accept the recommendation of the staff.
On balance, if I could ask the CEO, given the report and the impact on the community regarding these kinds of development applications where there's non-compliance, on balance, is it acceptable to proceed when we've been asked for a deferment?
Through Madam Mayor, my view is that in this particular case it is appropriate to make a decision. The applicant has every right to lodge an appeal if they don't like the decision that council makes, and certainly in his representations today for not being able to turn up has suggested that that's the path he would go down, but he's entitled to do that. But I don't think I think it's clear cut. This is a clear cut decision that we've got a structure that doesn't comply with the building code requirements, health and safety issues, and there is no information to be able to judge otherwise in terms of being able to look at it being approved. I would be strongly suggesting that you make a decision tonight, and if the applicant is unhappy with that decision, they have every right to pursue it through the Land and Environment Court.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll just make a few comments on the item. I'm solely basing this on what we have before us, but this has come before us in previous term. I just want to acknowledge that the staff at Yass Valley Council have been very accommodating with the applicant to work with them to try and get this to comply. And from the history, the applicant just does not seem to be coming to the party. So I don't think it's a matter that the council has just said, we're not going to allow this to go ahead. I think that we have worked hard with the applicant to make this work, and it really comes down to the applicant not coming to the party. And so I would suggest that if we adopt this recommendation tonight, that the applicant could come back to council again for a third try and perhaps be a little bit more compliant and listen to what the requests of council are.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Councillor Chubb.
Can I just say, first and foremost, this is clearly an issue that has a lot of complexity about it. And I appreciate the questions of the CEO and the Director. That clarifies the email that was sent earlier today, and I appreciate you asking those questions, because and for public knowledge, I asked the question that we should consider a deferment, noting that the gentleman isn't here to provide his thoughts. However, I really appreciate the input and
Councillor Rothwell, would you like to close, or are you happy with the? Fine, okay, let's vote. Councillors, all those in favour of the recommendation? You voting with your own recommendation? Yes?
No.
No? Okay, that's fine, not a problem. You're allowed to move and reject. So all those in favour except Councillor Rothwell? Against? Have we got that right? Sorry, Councillor Flannery, did I correctly? Yes, thank you, thank you. The ayes have it in that instance. Okay, moving on to item 6.7. We're looking at development application DA 240052, the boundary adjustment and alterations and additions to existing dwelling 8 and 10 Short Street, Yass.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Rothwell, thank you again. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us that consent be granted. Do we have any debate? Would the mover like to comment?
No.
No? Okay, and a seconder. All happy? Right, any questions? You look ready. Councillors, all those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Moving on to 6.8, development application DA 240111, the 3-lot subdivision on Gundaroo Road. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us that consent be issued. Do we have a mover? Councillor Flannery, I might take that as a moving. Is that a moving? Okay. Councillor Carter, thank you. Seconder? I think Councillor Shari had it by a whisker. Okay. Oh, sorry. Do we have any commentary on that one?
Can I ask a question to the Director of Planning and Environment through you, Madam Mayor? Could you just explain the averaging process for us? I could have wanted to, but just for the benefit of understanding, just in the sense of the one or two questions that have been asked here. I think this falls within our LEP and it's fine, but it would be good just to have an explanation of how averaging works in general.
Just let me find, through you, maybe, just let me find it in the report. Thank you for your question, Councillor Carter.
My apologies.
My layman explanation would be, it's an
No, I'm not-
art,
yeah.
not a science.
Yeah, so I just refer you to attachment D in the council report and page 246 of the attachments. So it provides an explanation of the clause, and then it provides you with an explanation like how they've determined the average area for the proposed lots. So they've essentially they add up the 3 proposed lot sizes, they divide it by 3, and the average is above the 40 hectares, which is the minimum lot size in the zone. So I note the comments that have been made around how the provision in clause 4.1b has been used, but it is entirely appropriate. It is provided for within the LEP, and if there was concerns about that, we would have raised it in the assessment. Does that assist?
Thank you, Carmen, for the clarification.
Any other comments, councillors? Prepare to vote. Councillor Cameron.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question of the Director of Planning. The question was raised about the LEP, which is due for updating in the near future, seeing as a long way back in time when it was done. That question about sort of averaging more than once, and twice and 3 times, would that be looked at in the future or do you think that's too technical?
Through you, Madam Mayor, look, I don't really have an opinion on that at this stage. This is not, I don't recall this being a regular occurrence in terms of development applications where you have used the averaging provision over essentially, the parcels in this way. However, it's totally within the provisions of the LEP at the moment, and yeah, at this stage I don't have a view either way about what might happen if we were to review that clause.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to let you know that in 2013 when the LEP was gazetted, it wasn't in the LEP, that came through a planning proposal to look at the lot sizes and include the averaging arrangement. I think that was, from memory, one of the first things I had to look at when I came to Yass Valley Council, but it was a subsequent amendment to the 2013 LEP that introduced a 40 hectare minimum lot size, but with the option of averaging, so that provided the average of the number of the size of each of the lots equals 40 hectares, generally speaking, they comply. So you might have some that are bigger and some that are smaller.
Thank you.
Councillor Flannery.
Yes, I note, my question is to the Director of Planning. I note that 7 objections have been received and that their concerns you feel can be addressed by conditions. How many people immediately surround this? So is 7, were 10 people notified and 7 objected? Were 20 people notified? Did any support? I just would like to understand a little bit about the consultation that went on, and I have a second question. If the concerns aren't addressed, so if you've got conditions on the consent, how would council then reverse it? Because that's what I feel is quite important, that council often sets conditions, which then when people don't meet them, the council feels powerless to act. So I'm just concerned for the residents there that have raised these concerns.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't know how many adjoining owners were notified. Usually you map the land that's affected by the DA, and then you essentially notify around that, depending, it varies, but that's essentially more or less how it happens. All of the issues that have been raised in the submissions have been reviewed in the report and the assessment, and I think that the recommendation for an approval is warranted. In terms of compliance, non-compliance, modifications and that sort of thing, it's a matter of, for this type of application for a subdivision, you have to get a subdivision certificate at the end of the process. So you get a development consent, they have to go away, do a whole range of things to comply with the conditions, and then to get the subdivision certificate, the staff actually go back and review all of the conditions to ensure that they're being complied with. So for subdivisions, there is a whole point there at the end, and that point is quite crucial for council, because we're usually taking on assets, or where we need to ensure the inspection programs have been undertaken and that sort of thing. So that whole point is very important. We take that very seriously, because that is when the title plan is then handed back to the applicant to go away and register the titles with the Land Titles Office. In terms of long-term compliance, look, it's an issue. We've got an enforcement policy, and we just deal with matters as they happen. In my experience, one, we have to make a decision about whether or not to commit compliance resources to that issue, and secondly, what level of compliance action is warranted. And in the first instance, if we feel that we are going to take up the compliance matter, we just ask the person to resolve the issue, to fix it or whatever. And look, I would say 95% of cases people just are happy to do that.
So just in summary of what you're saying, the number of people that have registered complaints is 7, but we don't really know the percentages. So it could be 100% of the people that have complained, or it might be not, but it could be the people that were notified complained. That could be the case. And council, as with many councils, front load the regulations to say don't do it, but once something is done, it's very hard to reverse that, because in the list of things that council has to consider, dust and noise might be low because it's Gundaroo, and really only 7 people might be affected. So I just wanted to understand, when we approve these types of developments, I would like council to be aware that those 7 might be immediately affected and maybe dramatically.
Councillor Flannery, can I ask you a question? Are there specific consents that you're concerned will be difficult to police, for want of a better word?
No, I was just wondering how much due diligence we were doing on some of these applications when they're approved, because I just wanted to understand if when we receive these numbers, how council was responding to them, because we might get a lot or not. So I don't have any specific concerns. I was just trying to form my view whether that had been checked.
Through you, Madam Mayor, maybe a possible solution is to identify how many landowners were notified and how many have objected. That will give you an indication of whether it's 100% that are objecting, or whether it's only 50% or 20%. So maybe we can look at modifying the report to make sure that we say this is how many people we've notified, and this is how many people have objected to the proposal.
Just noting through you, Madam Mayor, that an objection doesn't mean a development application should be refused. It's a matter of assessment of what the issues actually are, and how they can or can't be resolved potentially through conditions of consent, or whether they warrant refusal. It's really down to the assessment of the application, and we do follow the provisions of the Environmental Planning Assessment Act when we do it.
I appreciate the question, Councillor Flannery. That was actually quite perceptive on determining whether or not it's 100% or 10% of those notified. It is of interest to councillors, I believe. Any further questions or commentary? Okay. Councillors, I do believe you are ready to vote on item 6.8. If we could have a raised hands in favour of the motion or not. Okay, that's unanimous.
It's not.
Oh, sorry,
I didn't support it.
Sorry, Councillor.
I don't feel the council has enough information to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Thank you, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, I need to excuse myself. I have a previous engagement which was booked in before the council meeting, so I do need to excuse myself now. So thank you.
Okay, we're noting that Councillor Flannery is leaving the meeting at 5:57. Thank you, Councillor Flannery.
Thank you.
Councillors, moving along to item 6.9. The update of TF New South Wales safety improvements at the intersection of Stevens and Fitzroy Streets bylaw, noting that this is a state project and not a project funded by Yass Valley Council. Councillor.
I have an alternate to put forward, and I think Katie should have that alternate, but if not, I can pass you over my phone. Is this the same motion Councillor Rothwell was intending to?
You do it.
Are you sure?
I'm
I'm happy to. We can share. We can combine alternates.
So it's just a motion.
Okay, I'll take it that
So
Councillor.
I'll read out the motion while we're, if it's not, sorry, already up there. So the alternate motion will read that the report on the update of the Transport for New South Wales safety improvements at the intersection of Stevens and Fitzroy Streets be noted. I think that's a spelling mistake in that one. And then 2, the additional submissions received from the community be referred to Transport for New South Wales, and Jenny Atkinson, MP, Minister for Regional Transport and Roads, for further consideration and consultation with the community in relation to the proposed works. I would like to add at the end of that, please, prior to November 18, because I believe works has stopped now until that date, and we would have a nice time frame up our sleeve to have some consultation.
Just give them a moment to put this in.
So Councillors, the wording is up on the screen there now. I think we've covered exactly what Councillor Butler has moved. We now need a seconder.
Councillor Rothwell. Councillors, any debate? Question from Councillor Burgess.
I come in here this evening and the RMS blokes, lady and blokes talking there, I didn't know nothing about that. Why wasn't we told? Why was I told? What time did you start that? Earlier in the day?
It was about 15 minutes prior to the open forum.
There's nothing there.
There was an invitation. It was sent out.
If I could ask through the executive, was this sent via email or only as a calendar invite, or does that trigger an email? Yeah.
We can't say what it says it's seen.
Okay. Look, Councillor Burgess, I apologise that you missed that. I'll note that I will jump on the phone next time. Apologies. Councillor Cameron.
Look, I'd like to support this particular motion, but I'm not 100% sure whether I've made up my mind yet.
Please convince yourself.
Yeah, I might have to. Taking a lead from Councillor Reid from previously council of this thing. Look, the thing that I'd just like to make a couple of quick comments. I think in this report that we're going to note, it says here that TF New South Wales advised that they have undertaken extensive consultation with residents. I don't believe that's the case. I know we've had a session before the meeting today saying that, you know, that this happened and that happened. But basically what happened was there was one major consultation process where on February the 1st, which I attended, and there was quite a number of people there. I thought I went there because I wanted to see how TFN NSW actually undertake consultation. And my impression at the time was that it was quite good, that they had a large number of people there. There was a lot of talking. The people who were here were doing a good job, I thought, getting the information. I was told later that there was a significant number of people there who were objecting to what was being suggested, and that eventually wasn't taken into account. So it says here, undertake an extensive consultation. Well, initially yes, but not ongoing. Basically, from what I could understand, and that's why I asked the question about May, the report in May went back to the community. What went back? You know, I didn't get a clear answer to my mind in that, what was sent back. And the impression I get is they did initial consultation, then they came up with a plan, and they basically said, this is the plan, this is what you're going to have to live with. Not quite in those terms, but that's the implication. There wasn't any real consultation. You know, it would have seemed to me, if you were going to really consult the community, you would have had an open meeting. You know, they've got the Binalong Hall, pretty good hall with we're at. They could have had an open meeting and discussed the plan that was being proposed. They didn't do that. So I believe that the consultation was very, very flawed. I don't think they took into account the community's perspective. There's a comment down here, none of the residents impacted have made any submission. But the Binalong Progress Association were peppering that body and the council about their concerns, and I don't think they were addressed. Finally, and I'm probably going to vote against this, finally I think the other issue for me is that there was never any discussion in my mind about where the heavy traffic coming off the Hume and wanting to go to Borrowa, where they would go if they weren't going down Fitzroy Street. And the island that's being presented there stops that from happening. Now, we all know, well, if you've been in Binalong and you've tried to turn right into Queen Street from Stephen Street, you take it very slowly. That's gradient in front of you going down, gradient to your right going down. I couldn't imagine being in a B-double or something like that, trying to turn right into there. And apparently there have been rollovers there in the past. So, I just would like to make those particular points. I don't think the consultation process was adequate. I don't think the community concerns, as indicated by the petition, was acceptable in any form or whatever. I believe I have been told by the president of the new president of the Progress Association of Binalong that she has been told or informed that if we don't say we want to pause on this whole thing or we want to stop it, then they're not going to do anything about it, they'll just keep on going. I've asked for written information on that, it hasn't been provided, but I'll just pass that on anyway. Thank you.
If I could just ask the Director of Infrastructure for an update on where the stop works have been triggered. Is it operational level or is it as a result of this advocacy?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so we had a discussion with Transport for New South Wales yesterday that the hold up for the construction works, which was meant to start on the 21st of October, was due to an inability to shut down the power for the relocation of the power pole. So that has now been postponed until the 15th of November, with the civil works now proposed to commence on the 18th of November.
And Council has forwarded all of the objections that we've received from residents to TF for New South Wales. Did they go anywhere else or just TF for New South Wales?
Through you, Madam Mayor, all of the information we've received to date has been forwarded to Transport for New South Wales.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to go back to the motion that's up there, it's that the submissions also go to the Minister, and that they, the request is for further consideration and consultation with the community in relation to the proposed works. So this is not council just sitting on its hands. This is about making sure that the minister is aware, not just Transport for New South Wales, the project people, that that further consideration and consultation with the community should be undertaken.
Councillors, any further comments?
I just wanted to ask a question of Councillor Cameron.
Yeah.
If you are not supportive of this motion, would you like to put forward a foreshadowed motion?
No,
Just wanted to check.
I'm going to support the motion. Thank you.
Another question.
Councillor Charlie.
For Councillor Rothwell. Councillor Rothwell, noting you were the one that received the petition with 266 signatures for wider awareness. Can you just give us just an insight into what's in that?
And could I just clarify, Councillor Rothwell, that was a petition that was given to TF New South Wales. It wasn't for council's receipt.
No, but
Yes,
just
okay.
given this to him to demonstrate any people
Yes.
object to it, 260 odd in vinyl, so pretty much everyone, I think. And they just want the record works reduced, so that there's a movement around town and stuff like that. They don't want the street closed. So that's go after.
Councillors, if I may make a comment just briefly, as the former long-suffering chair of the local traffic committee for 5 years and acknowledging Councillor Cameron's role for the past 3 years as well, the intense level of community desire for a solution for the very serious issue of cars leaving the road and entering into people's front yards was kept paramount and intense in terms of the lobbying from the community for a solution. Council tried to, within our own budget, come up with some ideas. TF New South Wales came to the party, much to our relief, I might say, because this is their responsibility. And councillors had no control over the solution provided, which, as we saw presented to us today, was constructed to meet the safety standards that TF New South Wales would require if they were to implement any infrastructure. It's a very difficult position for the community. They've asked and asked and asked for a solution, and what they've got is certainly not to their liking. And I think this motion provides an opportunity for TF New South Wales to go back and either convince the community that this is the only way to make this area safe, or to consider an alternate that the community would accept. So thank you for coming up with that alternate motion. Do we have any further speakers, or will we allow Councillor Butler to close? If she so chooses.
I hadn't planned to close, but I can, and I think that when I was unaware of how many signatories that were until Councillor Rothwell brought it to our briefing on Tuesday, and I think that was a pivotal moment for me to recognise that this is greatly impactful for a small community, and it probably will be for the long term. So I think it's really important that as a council, we're advocating for our communities when they are hitting roadblocks, because we have the experience to be able to speak to state bodies and ministers, whereas a lot of people, who sign those petitions would have no idea what avenue to go down. So we can't ignore that. We need to act on behalf of them. So I think that this is a step in the right direction. And I also want to acknowledge that Transport for New South Wales has been incredibly generous with their grant towards our community in providing all of those safety measures. So I think it's a balancing act between not being ungrateful, but also making sure that it's the correct fit for the community.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, Councillor Rothwell. She closed the debate on you.
I just wanted to say well done.
All right, thank you, councillors. Let's vote. All those in favour? And I cannot see Councillor Flannery. If you... Oh, that's right. Sorry, we left. I do that
She's
one more
left the
time.
building.
I'll be showing them attention. Sorry, maybe.
Do we do the vote again?
Absolutely. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Councillor Chari, Carter, Butler, Cameron, Rothwell, Burgess, Jones. That's okay. That's okay. Nothing wrong with a bit of piece of paper in the meantime.
We'll use paper for the time being.
Would you like those ones in? Okay, all right. Happy to move on? Okay, thank you. Item 6.10, towards zero safer road program grant. Thank you, councillor Burgess, so moved. Seconder, councillor Cameron, sorry, councillor Rothwell, who's just a little bit faster there on me. Any comments from the director?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, it's a good road safety initiative. $393,000 will go towards improvements to Sutton Road, which is much needed. It's a regional road with high traffic volume. Definitely well needed.
Just a very quick comment, Madam Mayor, just to recognise the work of the Director of Construction Assets on this, which is an excellent outcome for us, and I hope we can do more of this. Excellent.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, it's our road safety officer does a lot of our grant program applications for us, and she's got a very good hit rate, so she needs to be congratulated.
Yes, can I just mention Meryl Hinge's name 3 times over? She's a powerhouse on the road safety grants, and I think we've seen Yass Valley punch above its weight on a range of items. I'm just recalling $500,000 worth on road safety around schools, and also the wonderfully acclaimed project of the Yass Public School. Is it called a Kiss and Ride? Something like that. Yeah, okay. All those ready to vote on that one? All in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Alright, moving on to our council corporate update. Do we have a mover to get this motion? Thank you, councillor Butler. And seconder, councillor Rothwell. Any comments from our director, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, basically it was to provide an overview of some of the situations for the new councillors, to bring them up to speed, and it's a start to try and give regular updates.
Any commentary from councillors, questions? Councillor Cameron.
It's a commentary rather than a question. Look, I think I take your point, the director's point, that it's good to have a corporate report because it gives us a chance to have a think about where we are in terms of quite a number of issues. However, I must say that, in my view, to have a statement there at the start that basically says that council staff has been open and transparent in relation to the financial situation does not necessarily mean, because it's in a report, that it's necessarily true from my perspective. I'm saying that as my perspective. I feel that in the last 18 months, I've been trying very hard to get an accurate picture of the financial situation of the council, and it hasn't been easy. It's been quite a battle. We basically, in the first couple of years, have had 3 chief financial officers, and the chief financial officer in any organisation is a very important person, and we haven't had one for the last, basically nearly the whole of 2024. So I think we haven't found it easy to have a really good, accurate picture of the financial situation of the council. And it's even harder for community members because they have to go through GEPA complaints, they have to go through administrative and legal tribunals, which not only costs them a considerable amount of money, but costs councils a lot of money as well. And recently we've been talking about the cost of compliance and a few other issues. I think we've also got to start thinking about the cost of legal actions that get away from us and escalate into higher figures. So that's the first point I'd like to make, that I don't think that's a very good statement in regards to the situation over the last 18 months, 2 years. Second thing I'd like to mention is there's a couple of things mentioned here that I feel, you know, we're only just finding out about. The operational sustainability program. Well, you know, it's great that people have been working on this for some period of time. And I first saw it, and you know that I'm interested in sustainability, I first saw it in a draft budget earlier this year, where the figure of $60,000 was attached to it, and couldn't really get an explanation of what operational sustainability meant. I knew it had something to do with organisation, development, etc., but that was about all of it. So, in a sense, we're really only being told about operational sustainability program today, or in the briefing papers. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Also, we've got a letter there from the 26th of July to OLG. Now, that's a pretty important letter from my perspective, and I think 3 months later is not an adequate time to hold on to that letter. I think it should have been handed to councillors in the August meeting, and especially before the election, which would have been a reasonable time frame for it. I think one of the things that we're going to learn in terms of induction is that one of the responsibilities of the CEO is to keep councillors timely informed about issues. And I don't think those two that I've mentioned is in any sense timely. Anyway, I'll leave it at that in that sense. The final thing I'd like to mention is the corporate update doesn't mention the staffing crisis that we're facing. We're facing a staffing crisis, let's be honest, and we need to start to do something about it. I was just having a look, it was great that we got the handbook, little bit of praise, not much, a little bit of praise, the handbook that we got was fantastic, and we have an organisational chart there. But if you go through it, 16 vacant positions. Now, some of them are minor, I take the point there, some of them are minor, but when you haven't got a chief financial officer, you've got a governance person missing, and you've got a person in charge of waste management. The person who's totally in charge of waste management, he basically is not there as well. So we've got 16 vacant positions, thank you, I'll be sure.
Just letting you know you've had 5 minutes.
5 minutes, I've had 5 minutes, thank you. But we've got 25 unfunded positions for the coming financial year. You know, and we keep on hearing rumours about people leaving, and you know, I think we need to have an honest council corporate report, a little bit more honest than this one, so that we can really deal with some of the key issues that council is facing. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I will open up to our executive to respond if they should so choose to any of the commentary.
That's fine.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the recruitment of some key positions is extremely difficult. We are the lowest paid in the region because we have the lowest revenue in the region. We're competing with the ACT, and a number of the key staff have gone to the ACT for better wages. I can't compete with that. I can't compete with the Queanbeyans and the Golden Warriors either, because again, they've got better income levels than what we have. So this is a problem for us, recruiting for key positions. If you actually look at some of the employment directories for local government positions, there are a number of councils that are struggling to get chief financial officers. So, again, we've been fortunate enough to be able to bring in a contractor for the 12 months, and while we are now going back to the market to see if we can recruit. I am not that optimistic in relation to what the market is going to put forward. Yes, we have lost a couple of chief financial officers. One was a contractor who left the organisation, and the other was appointed and was not a good fit for the organisation, and we came to a mutual solution for that person to depart the organisation. They weren't doing the work that we asked them to do. So, fill the gap, we put in place a contracted arrangement, particularly with a company that understood the financial and software systems that we use. We're continuing to do that, but we're going back to the market to see if we can actually get a chief financial officer. But I'm not overly confident when I see right across the state councils bigger and smaller than us that are struggling to get chief financial officers, and that goes along the way for a number of other key positions that we've got in the organisation. When employment is at 3%, that's virtually full employment. There is not a pool out there of skilled people to be able to do some of the key jobs that we've got. So what we've got to do is look at those jobs and look at how we might be able to deliver them in an alternate way. That might be promote someone through higher duties. Yes, that does leave a gap somewhere else, but again, there can be a flow-on effect with that. It's not for want of trying. We are working very, very hard on trying to fill those key vacancies across the organisation.
Question for the CEO. At the local government council, the federal council, it was discussed about having relationships with metropolitan councils to try and access at least part of those services. Is that an approach we could do through the joint regional organisation?
The reality is that you're assuming that those big organisations have spare capacity. They're like us, they don't have spare capacity. They've just got bigger budgets and bigger processing that is needed. Now, the only councils that have benefited from some of the larger councils like Sutherland are the small remote rural councils where they they act like a consultant. And it's only a stopgap measure. It's not a permanent solution. That's the challenge for us. I think we should have a permanent solution. But I've got to go to the market, and if the market doesn't throw up a candidate, I've got to think of different ways on how we can actually deliver the information to you. That's what we're endeavouring to do. Yes, we've got vacancies. I actually think, I think this was done. It was mentioned by Kath Roach at the induction level that for councils like us, there will be a natural level of vacancies that you are going to struggle to recruit into. So you need to start thinking a bit more. You need to start thinking a bit more laterally about how we might be able to cover some or all of those functions that we have.
Could you demonstrate for the councillors any shared roles that we might have with other councils, such as Goulburn or using the JO?
Well, one thing with the JO, we share a service on the ARAC committee. So we've got a shared committee that we share with 3 other councils, and we also share an officer, like an internal auditor officer. So that's one that we use. We also have like a loose arrangement whereby if we've got a conflict of interest in processing a council development application, that we can go to one of our other councils to get them to use it, and we reciprocate in the same way. So there is some informal arrangements, and there are some formal arrangements in terms of doing that. But again, the assumption is that those councils have got spare capacity of people with their feet up on the desk not doing anything. That's not reality. Everybody who's working in local government is at capacity. And people will move around for career moves, you know, like whether it's a new challenge, whether it's money, you know, we can't compete. I mean, I can increase the package for some of the key positions, but what other staff am I going to lose? You know, to offset the expenditure on the staff wage bill. So these are the challenges that we face. Now, what the staff are doing at the present time under the banner of the financial sustainability is they're working through a process of identifying the things that they must do, identifying the things that they would like to do, and the things that they would park or not do at all. Now, that way, once we have that information, we can then start to look at how best can we use the existing staff on the things that we must do, and what other options have we got for the other activities. And that will give us a clearer picture of what our staffing levels need to be, and whether we need, or we can repurpose some positions within the organisation to some of the vacancies that we're currently carrying.
It could be a situation that this is a subject we could take to the CRGO, and the reason why I say that is we could have an opportunity as a collective of councils to contribute a certain amount towards a higher grade of CFO, for example, that none of us could actually achieve on our own, but we could attract a calibre of candidate that could direct a more junior officer at least, you know, 3 of the councils, for example. But if we made that contribution, we could have a timeshare of that position, and that if that was attractive to that organisation, to the joint organisation.
I think they're coming back on those arrangements for a variety of reasons. So I think the other thing too is, again, through councils sharing the same CFO is a CFO is a full-time position. They're not going to do 3 sets of financial statements for a variety of councils.
Councillors, any further questions or debate? Councillor Carter.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Chief Executive, what are we paying our contractor? Is that equivalent to what you would pay a CFO? Is it different, similar?
I think it's certainly different. We're paying a premium for that role because we struggle to compete to get somebody permanent. And that's the challenge. I mean, it's such a critical role that we can't afford not to use a contractor in the absence of actually being able to recruit somebody. But look, we're going back to the market, and I guess we've just got to see where that takes us, and whether we can attract somebody who would be prepared to work at Yass Valley. You know, as I said, we've often, for key positions, interviewed people, selected them for the role at Yass Valley, and then they've gone back to their organisation and said, I've got a job at Yass Valley, if you give me some more money, I'll stay. So then they end up playing everybody off against each other. So that's the nature of the market at the moment. And part of that is because a lot of people know that there is a scarcity in the market of certain skills. And when there's a scarcity, you've got to look at what your options might be.
Any comments from the seconder?
Can I talk to the motion?
Absolutely.
Look, this is one of the first opportunities I've had to look through some of this information. There of course was a lot of discussion prior to the election about council finances, and this is the very first time I've had the opportunity to look at some of that material. It is, I think, a great cause for concern right across the board. I teach at university and I teach accounting. One of the things we tell our first year accountants never to do is to start with going, let's reduce by 5% or let's add by 5%. It is a rather, which is one of the proposals here in terms of trying to move forward by balancing a budget. That is precisely what we talk to our first year accounting students about, how not to manage budgets at the end of the day. Ultimately, there is a rather perilous financial position here. I know the report talks about auditors and others haven't commented on that, but to some degree that's because they haven't been able to see the full implications of some of the financial decisions that council has taken, including, for example, furnishing the debt facility with respect to the building of Craig Mill. It must be noted here that, you know, if we're unable to balance the budget, the document talks about seeking a special rate rise or variation from this community. That is of great concern, given the nature of people that might live across the broad community. And so from a general perspective, you know, the only real plan here, it seems, for a balanced budget is for, you know, to seek more money from our local ratepayers, and that is of great concern generally for us when perhaps decisions were made previously around what facilities we might take with respect to you know, building, respect to debt facilities and other bits and pieces. The broader question that I have and the concern that I have is that, are we getting good independent financial advice, which is what a CFO would have principally in their role. We note, for example, that a lot of the financial management policies of council are to the Chief Financial Officer. So at the moment we don't necessarily have someone fulfilling all of those roles, giving us that type of advice. The question, of course, is that when I moved here in 2020, I was told that it's difficult to recruit people to Yass Valley because Canberra is 50 kilometres down the road. And we need to think laterally about how we're going to do that. My concern is 4 years down the track, we're having exactly the same conversation. Some of that lateral thinking seems not to have necessarily been as lateral as it perhaps might need to be at this particular point in time. We do need to be, particularly when we have a situation where we don't have a governance officer, we have no risk officer, we have no acting chief financial officer other than a contractor. There are great concerns here about the overarching financial management of this organisation. And so my note is a note of concern that to some degree we really need to take a very careful look at what decisions we're trying to make. Because ultimately, 5% reduction in operational budgets moving forward is going to affect what services we can provide to the community. At a very simple point in time, we're trying to bring people into Yass, forecasted growth, etc., but if we're not there to provide them with the services that they would expect, that's going to be problematic for those people trying to move here, and that have long-term implications for us as an organisation, as a Yass Valley more generally. We do need.
Sorry, Councillor Carr, are you proposing an amendment or foreshadowing a different motion?
I'm speaking.
Yep,
this is to be noted. I'm just speaking.
I could sense that something might be coming.
At a later stage.
Okay,
but not
all right.
The challenge more generally, though, for us, I think, is that we have to be cautious from a fiscal responsibility perspective. It was part of a really important discussion for us right across the election, and a number of people across this community want to see something done around this. One might argue from perhaps a negative viewpoint that one of the benefits of having 40% staff absences is that actually reduces our budget at one level as a budget line. We need to be cautious about what we're trying to do in this community. Many people want to move here and love being in this community and want to serve the community as well. We need to be careful and cautious and think laterally about how we might resolve some of these concerns.
Prepare to vote. All those in favour of noting the report? All in favour except Councillor Cameron? Moving on to item 6.13, the council committees. Sorry, investment and borrowings, I've skipped one, I beg your pardon. 6.12, investment and borrowings reports. Do we have a mover to note the report?
I'd like to move the motion that we don't note this report.
Councillor Cameron, are you seconding that? Okay, that we not note this report. Can I see some advice from the CEO? Sorry.
You're talking about not noting crazy things.
Yeah, look, through you, this is a report that we're required by OLG to present to council. So we do it on a regular basis. So that you have an idea of where the investments and borrowings are made. So you'll notice in the attachment, there's a list of all of the investments that we've made with various institutions, which is consistent with good practice in terms of not putting all your eggs in one basket, spreading the your investments into different products that are available. And again, we're governed by the state government about what we can invest in and what we can't invest in. The borrowings is basically what we borrowed. So in the areas that we've got borrowings is basically water and the Crago Mill. So they're the borrowings that we've got, and then that basically provides you with information in relation to the approach to investments and the borrowings that we've got. Again, this is a requirement of the Office of Local Government for us to report it, for us to.
Councillors, I think we'd be derelict in our duty to not at least receive the report into the council meeting. Do I have any?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to move the item.
So excuse me, Councillor.
Well, as it stands on the agenda.
You have a mover and a second. You've got a mover and a second.
Can I speak to the reason?
So we have a motion. Sorry, Councillor Butler. We have a motion from Councillor Carter, seconded by Councillor Cameron, to not note the investment and borrowing report. And I would just like to acknowledge a foreshadowed motion coming from Christina Butler, but we will park that, and if Councillor Carter would like to speak to his motion first.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. There's a couple of reasons why I feel that it's unlikely that we should recognise or note this particular report. The report notes that it seeks to correct minor discrepancies, but then goes not to detail those discrepancies and how they've been corrected in any form. It makes it very difficult for me as a representative of Yass Valley to be able to understand how that's being corrected. At one level, one of these reports, the August report, has never been before council. The other two prior to that, of course, were. So it makes it difficult to understand what discrepancies, even if they are minor, it would be, I think, good practice to explain what those might be. We're talking about transparency. That was the word used, open and transparency, was used in the previous report. So it's concerning that we just told there are discrepancies, note them, good luck, move on. What I'm worried about here is at least three different questions that I think exist within this report. Yes, there is within the discretion provided by the by OLG and others in terms of investments. We are entitled to represent and put money into stocks that are rated at A2 or A1 or AAA or triple B. We are allowed to do that. It's supposed to be at the 30% level. That's within both our policy and also the OLG policy. We're very close to the line here. In one of these reports, we sit at 29.7%. We don't again have a CFO. We don't again have a manager of governance. These decisions have been made by both the CEO and the Director of Corporations and Community, and that's within the policy discretion. But again, there's a question of what oversight there might be in that. Triple B stocks, for those that don't understand what triple B investment, it's a more risky investment. And the point would be that, and that's why they're capped at 30% under OLG regulations, the normal point of a risky assessment is they bring back a higher interest rate. But if you look through the interest rates here, actually the better interest rates we're getting, except for from my state bank, are actually from some of our A1 and A2 stocks. And so the question here is to why some of those decisions have been made and why that as our investment policy, it's unclear from the document why some of those decisions have been made and what the implications are. We also need to know that since the previous report around loans and debt position, $14.5 million, $14.6 million, sorry, Madam Mayor, to correct myself, has been drawn down on the Crago Mill facility. One of the questions about this, if you look at the report across our cash working accounts, is it varies by $11 million across the period. Huge amounts of money from one month to the next. And one of the questions that I'm concerned about, and there might be some further information required here, is about what's to guarantee that Crago Mill funding is being used to fund Crago Mill as opposed to being used within the current working account for other operations of council given our perilous financial position as well. And so I think there are some real concerns here about this report. It needs to be clearer, it needs to have discrepancies discussed, and we need to understand what they are and what those implications are. Even if they're minor, for the purposes of an open and transparent debate for the members of our community, they need to be noted for us, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Do we have a response from the executive, particularly, I think, in regards to the last comments about the drawdown of the Crago Mill and what probity is in place to ensure that that's spent solely on the Crago Mill?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So I'd like to comment that the oversight of the investments is provided by our financial contractors. So they are acting as our CFO, and so they have oversight of that and decisions that are made there. And the Crago Mill is drawn down in accordance to the cash flow that we have from the construction program, and it is allocated only for the Crago Mill payments and is isolated for such use. It's not used for general funding.
Councillor
Just a
Cameron.
question through you, Madam Mayor, to the Director of Corporate and Community. We've drawn down 15 million. What stage are we at in regard to the project? Like, we're talking about stage 1, we're talking about stage 2 as being separate entities. How have we paid stage 1, or are we whereabouts are we in regard to how you see the money situation for stage 1?
We're still in stage 1.
Yes.
We are working on the footings at the moment, and the utilities have, the Director of Infrastructure and Assets may correct me, are also being worked on at the moment, and the cash flow is allocated on a monthly basis. The drawdown has been done to cover the next 3 months worth of work according to the program.
So the drawdown is about halfway through stage 1.
I'd have to take that on notice and have a look at the cash flow statement.
You're sort of saying that the drawdown's been done for the next 2 or 3 months.
Yep.
So that would be somewhere
it
near.
wouldn't be 50%.
No, it wouldn't be. It would be a little less.
It would be maybe 30%, I would say.
All right.
But I would have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Question as well to you, Madam Mayor, to the Director of Corporate and Community. Could you explain, though, how that ring fencing happens? So you're saying money's drawn down. I can't see that from this report. So could you explain how we ring fence the money drawn down for Crago to ensure it's not used for any other operational business within council?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to bring a report back to the councillors to outline the procedures that we undertake to do that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I just wanted to ask a question of Councillor Carter, acknowledging how very educated you are in this space, which is something that I really appreciate as a councillor to get your advice on these matters as well. But I just wanted to ask, as the mover of your alternate motion,
It's just the motion at
It's
this
just the
point.
motion.
Yeah.
Is there anything, instead of just not noting the report, is there anything that you could add to that in terms of the Director of Corporate Community has said that, you know, she'd be willing to bring back a report? Perhaps we could massage that motion into a bit more of a directive so that we would be happy with accepting a report.
Well, that would be an alternative motion to the motion. It's a bit strange for me to raise that, I wouldn't think. We could think about something like suggesting that a report be returned to council, which explains what those discrepancies are, explains where that ring fencing might happen, and like my understanding of procedures, I can't raise an alternative motion against my own motion. We have to vote on that first before I do that, I understand. So,
And I might point out that Councillor Butler, if you have a foreshadow motion.
I'll withdraw my foreshadow motion.
Okay. Would you like to propose an amendment to Councillor Carter's?
Through you, Madam Mayor. That is why I asked Councillor Carter, because I would rely on his experience in the financial world to be able to form that, but I understand the complexities of what I'm asking, so. Yeah.
So that's a no, I take it.
No,
I think something along the lines of to bring a report back to council to acknowledge what those discrepancies happen to be, to explain where the ring fencing of the Prego financial loan facility is within our account balance. So that's a lot of words very quickly, isn't it? I can slow down. So barristers speak fast, right?
We charge by the minute.
That's right.
So a report.
This report be brought to council to acknowledge what those discrepancies are that the report seeks, that the report notes, to explain and demonstrate how the ring fencing money drawn down against the Prego Mill loan facility is what happens. And that's probably enough at this stage. Yeah, and that's good. Yeah.
Is everyone,
Do we need to
can
withdraw the
everyone
original?
see that?
Do we need to withdraw the original motion?
So
I think if that was an amendment that was considered by Councillor Butler and Councillor Carter accepts that by consensus, it can become the motion.
Do you accept that amendment?
Yeah.
That you made?
Yes.
I'm willing to.
I should have asked you, Councillor Cameron, thank you.
Okay, so through you, Madam Mayor, if I could please just verify the motion that the investment and borrowings report covering the period 1 to 30th September 2024 not be noted, and
It's probably this report. It's the same report being returned.
oops. This report be brought back.
Yep.
To council to acknowledge discrepancies.
What those discrepancies are. The note report notes includes demonstrate. Good stuff.
What the acknowledge what the discrepancies are that the report notes to explain and demonstrate.
And there'll be an and to explain and demonstrate.
And to explain and demonstrate how the ring fencing of money is drawn down against the Prego Mill loan facility happens.
And we could add Councillor Cameron's point to this, around this, explaining where we are currently at with respect to Prego development.
Where,
Thank you.
we do have a bi-monthly meeting of all councillors in relation to progress with the program. I can't remember when the next one's coming up.
Councillors, if there's no other foreshadow motions from the floor, I'd like to foreshadow from the chair that we receive the investment and borrowings report covering the period 1 to 30 September 2024, and that this same report be brought back to council to acknowledge what the discrepancies are. Just putting that out there as you consider this motion before you. Would Councillor Carter, Councillor Cameron, do you want to speak? No? Okay, Councillor Carter, would you like to close? If there's no further questions. Yeah.
Well,
No, you're
sorry, the mover and the seconder of the motion could pick up what you're suggesting.
Which is fundamentally different. Not?
Well, it would be, but if it's accepted, then it's not fundamentally different.
If the
If it was an amendment, if it was an amendment, it would be fundamentally different. But if the mover and the seconder were to say be rather than not be noted but be received, and that the report be brought back, then that could be the motion. Otherwise, if it is as it is, it gets voted on, and if it's successful, the foreshadow motion just doesn't go and proceed anymore.
Okay. Councillor Carter, thank you for not closing the debate. Would you be happy to accept that we receive?
I think I'd prefer to vote on the motion.
The motion as it stands. I appreciate that. Councillors, you have parked a foreshadowed motion. We will deal with the motion in front of us right now. That the investment and borrowings report covering the period 30th of September, 1st to 30th, not be noted, and that this report be brought back to council to acknowledge what the discrepancies are. Okay. Are you ready to prepare to vote? All those in favour? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those in favour are 6. Councillor Chari, Councillor Carter, Councillor Butler, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Rockville, Councillor Burgess, Councillor Jones against.
Could you just repeat that for me, please?
Councillor Chari, Carter,
Everyone
Butler, Cameron,
Okay. Councillor
Burgess against. The motion was successful, and the fourth shadow motion to receive it and then do the same thing is lost.
That's not.
Oh, it's
It's
extinguished. It's gone.
It's just
It's
recorded.
gone.
It's just recorded simply as a
Yes.
foreshadow.
Thank you.
Recorded as a foreshadowed motion. It's just a debating test.
Sitting there.
But we have to record all motions.
Councillors, thank you for that debate on that item. Much appreciated. Okay, moving on to now item 6.13. We're looking at the council committees. Councillor Burgess, I think you'd like to.
The old bingo.
Only on the back. Okay, so when we get up to that item, we'll need to start. Let me just get in front of this.
So through you, Madam Mayor, what I've listed is the external statutory committees that we are involved in, and in some of these cases, people have already been appointed. So, for instance, the Mayor is a member of the Canberra Region Joint Organisation by the fact that the Constitution is about the mayors of all the participating councils in the Canberra Region Joint Organisation. The Southern Regional Planning Panel, we made a decision previously that Councillor Flannery and Councillor McGrath be appointed as the council reps, Councillor McGrath being the alternate. What I've done is I've highlighted the ones that require a decision of council, whereas the other ones can remain. So some of these statutory committees have officers appointed to them. So the Local Emergency Management Committee, that's the director assets and infrastructure and the local emergency management officer. So they don't need a decision, they just need to be noted. So the ones that, as I said, need to be, we need a decision in respect of are things like the local traffic committee, Southern Tablelands Arts, the various wind farm community consultant committees, which is and then the community enhancement committee. So
If I could just stop the CEO there for a second, I think it might be in our best interest if we move into a committee of the whole for all of these items except Bango, and we'll leave that separate. Councillors, can I have a procedural motion to move into?
Could I ask a point of clarification before we do that, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
3 hour meeting time, does that start from when?
5 o'clock, not when we started at 4, so yes, I appreciate it.
Great.
Contrary to what?
Good, let's get going.
I think we that we move into a committee of the whole.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Seconded. Alright, okay, this allows you to discuss who you'd like on these committees without having to become puppets on a string going up and down. Thank you. And we'll keep this for a maximum of, say, 10 minutes max for the committee of the whole. Thank you. So our first one that we need to choose for the councillor officer for, I believe, is the local traffic committee.
And we need to do the performance review. It's not highlighted, but I think we do need to make a decision.
that's the requirements there are consistent with the Office of Local Government guidelines.
Correct. So we
And
need to have a council nomination.
Sorry.
I've jumped down to the highlight.
I know, it wasn't highlighted.
Okay, so
Thank
When
you.
the CEO was hoping you didn't know that.
okay, so the mayor, the deputy mayor, and a councillor nominated by council. So yes, you're right. We would need a councillor needs to determine who that person would be.
Southern Tablelands Wood Fire Management Committee, I've been on there for a long time.
We'll pick that up and pick that one.
I think you just nominated, so. Done.
So the first one is the councillor nominated by council. So that means you've got to work out who you want.
Madam Mayor, I nominate Councillor Cullen.
Do you accept that nomination? Okay, so we'll do that formally when we come out, but I'll just note that the committee recommends, this committee of the whole recommends, councillor Khan.
We need to vote on that.
Pardon?
We need to vote on that.
Once we come out of committee of the
Oh, I
whole.
see, okay.
So this
Also take any
council,
nominations?
this council will make a recommendation to the meeting in a second. It's by consensus, is everyone happy with that? Anyone else looking to be, sorry, no, now it's the CEO's turn to nominate.
Well, as I said the other day, I would reserve my right to nominate the councillor.
Well,
It's a bit
we appoint,
It's a bit
okay.
difficult to see if you're only wanting to a second person to nominate someone.
We're all available.
I understand that, but again, we're still in that
Yes, all right.
formative.
Yeah.
Happy to do that, happy to do that. Okay, looking on to, yes, the local traffic committee.
Sorry, the Southern Tablelands Bushfire Management Committee.
Oh, sorry,
That's
yes, correct.
Yes.
Councillor Burgess.
Congratulations.
I'd like to nominate 6.
Done. Okay, will be our recommendation to council up to this committee of the whole. Okay, the local traffic committee, I've got two nominations here, Councillor Rothwell. Given Councillor Rothwell's experience in this field, I'm leaning towards that, but I acknowledge Councillor Cameron has held this chair for the last 3 years.
I suppose I just note is that it is a safety committee, it's not a roads and building committee. But yeah.
Councillor Rothwell, your roles, have they included safety? I imagine they would.
Yeah.
I think it's all about that.
A lot of it.
Oh, great.
Fighting for position.
I know, it's really, it's
Fighting
unusual.
over the table.
Councillor
I'll just make a couple of quick comments. I'd like to stay on it if possible. If somebody else really wants to do it, that's their prerogative to challenge. I just think there's projects we've been working on that haven't been completed, still needs to be completed. Have a good working relationship with the police person, the person who represents Wendy Tuckerman, even the person from Transport for New South Wales. There's good people on there, and there's even people who are interesting from internally from the council staff, who are really quite interesting people in more ways than one. And some of them have taken some time to get to know well. I think we've had some successes, particularly with working on the one that comes to mind was talking to the police, the community association and local to deal with that hoon issue, that serious hoon issue over at Mullen Slate Road. So, yeah, anyway, put that in there.
So, Councillor Rothwell, you're putting your hand up as well. I guess you've got the opportunity to make a pitch for it.
I just think in my role, I do project management work, private engineering company on roads, both unsealed and sealed, bridges and culverts, all that sort of stuff, safety improvements, guardrails, signage, it's all part of it. And then I was 10 years as the quality coordinator here doing the safety works crews on the roads. So I thought it might be a good opportunity for me to do something.
Okay, so we've got 2 nominations. You need to now make a decision about who is going to be the councillor.
Councillors, I think in a lot of the ways we acknowledge Councillor Carter's professional background in finance and want to utilise that to the best of our ability on council. I think we might reflect the same on Councillor Rothwell's experience, and I just want to say that with a lot of respect for Councillor Cameron, who in good faith, when I passed the mantle of the traffic committee,
Took
it. But could I suggest that as an alternate, if for any reason Councillor Rothwell is unable to attend, that we could potentially appoint a backup to that committee?
I prefer not to. Could I just make a suggestion? If Councillor Rothwell wants a position, that's fine. Could I go to the first meeting and run that first meeting as a handover?
I appreciate that because I don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
so
well,
if you could come to a couple of meetings, first couple.
Well, at least the first one anyway.
Okay, so
Yeah,
what I'm hearing is that Councillor Rothwell will be the councillor chairing the local traffic committee, but there'll be a handover arrangement.
Yeah.
Sort it out between yourselves. Okay.
Fantastic, all right. Moving on to the Southern Tablelands Regional Arts. Can I just note that we have Councillor Flannery not present? Is anyone aware that she would or accepted any nominations and discussions for any committees that she has?
She nominated for.
She's on.
I know she's on the panel. Is there any that we're aware of that she was interested in?
Not heard.
Okay, I just wanted to double check before we plough on. Okay, thank you, councillors. So the Southern Tablelands Regional Arts.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Also, Councillor McGrath is also not present.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'll have another myself though.
Okay, Councillor Chari.
I was actually
Which one is this for?
Southern Tablelands Regional Arts.
Surprises.
My wife would be so.
Okay, we will skip over the Van Gogh Wind one at the moment and we'll go to the Coppabella. I note that we have Coppabella, Rye Park, Hume Link, Van Gogh Wind Farm Community, Coppabella Wind Farm Enhancement Committee and so on for the enhancement committees. Is this anyone's cup of tea? Or shall I just start drawing names out of a hat?
That's Alan McGrath's.
I second that. He wanted to bring on the ball.
not rude.
It's not here. You suffer.
Is there any way that we could think about, I know these are separate.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think the community enhancement fund committees could be one councillor sitting on all of those. And that would then be, that person would be able to have oversight, if you like, of ensuring there's consistency between the different funds. So I think that would be quite useful in terms of the community enhancement funds. The community consultative committees have a different function. They are set up usually under the approval or at the direction of the Department of Planning, with an independent chairperson, and council has a position on those consultative committees. So previously, I think that Bango might have been Councillor Abbey, Ryde Park might have been Councillor Abbey. Bango and Ryde Park, I think. And then I think Councillor Cameron was on the Hume Length community side.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Happy to be on. Still going.
Thank you, councillor.
Trying to get it underground.
That's one for the team. Just noting we won't look at Bango for a second, we'll look at Copperbella and Ryde Park. Councillor McGrath's name seems to be floating to the top.
Through you, Madam, can I just confirm are we putting all the winds together and the solars together? Is that what we're talking about?
No.
No,
There's
okay,
two-
sorry, apologies.
So
Okay,
there's two-
sorry, enhancements together. Yes, I understand.
Okay, so
Yes.
consultative committees have a very different role to the Community Enhancement Fund committees. The Community Enhancement Fund committee only deals with dishing out the funds that those major infrastructure pay to council for community groups to apply for grants. That's all they do. Whereas the Community Consultative Committee is a much broader committee where issues are raised about the project, they get regular updates about progress, they might call for further information on a particular issue associated with that particular project. So I think I'm right, am I? Councillor Cameron, is a much broader agenda that those committees deal with.
Yeah.
Could I just get some advice from the director? Just noting the capacity of some councillors to drive. So I imagine the Copperbella wind farm and the Ryde Park wind farm are done off-site, whereas the enhancement funds are done in Yass. Is that correct?
You're talking about the enhancement funds now?
Yes.
All the enhancement funds are actually done in Yass.
Okay.
The consultative committees are done in various locations.
That's what I thought. I'm thinking that if we were to nominate Councillor McGrath for the enhancement funds, which is Yass based, just noting his capacity to drive at the moment, might be appreciated as opposed to nominating him for any consultative committee, but he would have to accept this nomination at a later date.
Well, I think what you could do there is nominate Councillor McGrath for the Community Enhancement Fund committees and just have it to be confirmed.
Yes, okay, thank you. For the consultative committees, it's up to 4 meetings per year. You will need to travel out. I'm not sure if there's Teams link into those. There is Teams link, okay. Would someone like to nominate Councillor Flannery?
Which one?
Could I nominate Councillor Flannery for Ryde Park and with it to be confirmed? Do we have any nominations from the floor, or shall I start the chocolate wheel?
I'm caught. against wind farms and solar farms. You might have heard me say that.
You're just, sorry.
I think you.
Yeah, I think you.
I just think you've eliminated yourself.
Very well done.
Sorry for that advice from the chair. I'm in the same position. Councillor Carter, are you interested?
With the ARIC committee requirements, I think I'm fairly,
That's fine.
but thank you for.
Look, why don't we see about the availability of Councillor Flannery to attend these? I am worried that they might coincide on the same evenings. Do we have any history of that?
But no, I don't know. I don't think they do, but there is always the potential for that to occur.
So we say 4-3.
So they all have a different independent chairperson.
Okay. Councillors, we do need some nominations for these. I will get out my chocolate wheel in a
I will
second.
nominate for it.
Okay.
Which one?
All of them. Whichever ones were left over.
Just note.
No. I thought we were combining them.
Just noting that there will be need for a youth chair.
Well, I'm happy for our mayor to nominate me for what she thinks maybe is the most appropriate for my skill set.
I have you in mind for the youth council.
Oh, I would actually love to do that. Is that on here?
Not
No,
yet,
no.
but it will be coming. So
Well, I
I'm
could do that.
holding back because that is an intensive committee in terms of the level of guidance and involvement required. So,
Yes.
So that all your advisory committees, focus groups and project committees will be subject to a workshop. So that'll be done through a workshop rather than directly to council. These are statutory committees, so we need to have.
Will that workshop be done this year?
I'm anticipating it.
Yeah, this one.
Yes.
okay, we'll need to keep moving these committees
So
on
we still
hold.
need to
So we need at least a councillor. Can we have a backup for a statutory committee? Can we provide a councillor and a spare? Okay. Okay, so why don't we nominate 3 councillors for this role and subject to availability. We look at our timetables and see who's available. Councillor
I'll nominate for that.
Chari, Butler.
And you've got Flo.
And you can.
Yeah.
And Flo, okay,
Okay.
that's all right, yep.
So you go
Chari, Butler,
3 of us included.
Flo, your service to your community is noted. Thank you. And we'll have to confirm that Fleur is to be confirmed as well. Okay, thank you, as the alternatives.
So just a procedural matter, I think before we move out of committee, to give Councillor Burgess the opportunity to not be involved.
Okay, so we weren't doing Bango or enhancement or consultative committee while we were doing that process.
Oh, you weren't,
Yeah.
okay.
No, but we
Well,
set that
so-
one aside.
So then,
So
you've
now we're up to
nominated
that.
3 people for the consultative committees.
Yeah.
And you only need 2 if you're not doing Banco. Cockabella and Rye Park.
So we decided to do it as a team of 3 on account of the ability of councillors
I'm
to
doing
attend.
it.
Oh, for all 3 for all of them.
Correct,
So
so
you can link as well.
No,
No, I have to-
I'm down.
councillors who are down for that. Okay, so now that we're considering, we're about to consider Bango Community Consultative Committee and its enhancement fund. So if Councillor Burgess would like to step out briefly, thank you, Councillor Burgess. Yeah. Couple of stars upset.
Madam Mayor, can I make a comment? Just because.
Just
Oh,
one
sorry,
second.
sorry.
Good to go.
Okay, I just wanted to acknowledge, we have our outgoing councillor, Kayla Hoffman, who's been sitting in our wings the whole evening, and I wanted to acknowledge the wonderful work that she did on the youth council. and also the Southern Tablelands Arts Council as well. And so I know that she would make herself available to anyone to help us through as we take on these new roles. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Moving on to the Bango Wind Farm Community Consultative Committee, can I suggest that that now forms part of that collective that we just discussed for those others?
Yeah.
Okay. And further to that, we will press our point with Councillor McGrath, who's happy to also represent on the Bango Wind Farm Enhancement Fund Committee. Makes sense? Okay, thank you. Do you want me to go? Yes, thank you. Actually, one second. I'll just take some advice from the CEO. As we bring these collectively out of committee of the whole, because there is a decision in there on Bango, I suspect that we might need to bring these back up into the committee.
Yeah, I think that's right. You've got to.
Without Councillor Burgess for the moment.
I think you move out of the committee, make the decisions that you for nominations, and then you bring Councillor Burgess back.
Okay, thank you. So councillors, we'll now need to have someone move us out of committee of the whole.
Do so, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Carter, noting we were in there until 7:17. I hope that didn't go too far over the 10 minutes. Councillors, the recommendation from that, seconder. Councillor Chari. And voting to move out of committee of the whole. Thank you, councillors. All those present except Councillor Burgess. All in favour to move out of the whole. Recommendation from that committee, we're now looking at, so we have Councillor Chari for Southern Tablelands Regional Arts. Do you accept the nomination, Councillor Chari?
Yes, ma'am.
We have Councillor.
You have Councillor Carter for
the CEO of Performance. Thank you.
You have Councillor Rothwell for
Local Traffic
Committee.
Thank you.
Southern Tablelands, you have Councillor Burgess.
No.
Oh, so no, you're talking about the management bushfire.
Bushfire.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Southern Tablelands Regional Arts, Councillor Cherry. And then you've got a group of councillors for the community consultative committees of the wind farms.
Consisting of councillors Flannery, Butler and Chari.
Yep. And then you've got Councillor Cameron for the Hume. And then you've got Councillor McGrath for all of the Community Enhancement Fund committees. So at the moment, I think there's only one that's operating, two that are close, and two that are probably some years away at this stage.
And procedurally, we'll have to get Councillor Burgess to accept the Southern Tablelands Bushfire Management Committee when it comes back to you.
He's already done.
Is it in the committee level?
Yeah.
That was acceptable? Okay, terrific. Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
If Councillor McGrath is prevented from doing any of those, do we need to have backup?
It wouldn't be a bad idea to have
Or
a
that being unanimous?
Okay, Councillor Chari has nominated. Councillors, you happy with that?
Yeah.
Excellent. So Councillor Chari as backup for the enhancement fund. Funds, sorry. Right, we have before us a motion, I believe, to appoint all of these councillors to the committees as follows. Can everyone see that on the board? Thank you for the staff for making that happen. Ready to vote? Any comments?
Humanly, there's a bit spelled.
Yep.
Sorry, mine.
I think the spirit of the motion is there, councillors. Let's vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Chari, Carter, Butler, Cameron, Rothwell, and all four. And we now Burgess. Thank you.
So
Well, David and
Sorry, who's the second? Chuck. And
Councillor
Chuck.
All right, thank you, councillors. Move on.
Councillors, we are now up to item 6.14, the Yass Pool Redevelopment Project Committee, and noting that we are looking at the councillor appointments for this one. Just get to the page myself.
So councillors, the provision of under this project we use for 3 councillor representatives to be nominated. The issue of community reps we dealt with in closed session because we're dealing with personnel matters. So 3 councillors, we need to have 3 councillors for the Yass Pool redevelopment project.
Flannery McGrath.
So dealing with the first part of this recommendation, the 3 councillors representatives to be nominated. Councillor Carter, Councillor Chari. Do we have any further nominations?
Need a bit of gender equivalence, no?
Councillor Flannery is very fit. I'm sure she's been nominated.
Just run through the book.
So councillor Flannery to be confirmed. Is that
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
If not here, you pay the fiddle.
All right. Well, perhaps you move and second that part of the recommendation, and then we'll deal with the other part separately. How's that?
Sounds good.
Councillors, in the chance that one of these councillors, or all 3 of these councillors are not available, I'm happy to step in. This is a project very close to my heart.
You mean dive in?
Dive in, I'm happy to dive in. Well, it's not that elegant, but I would really like to see councillors take the baton on this one, and as Mayor step back. I've been driving this project since I got to council, since 2012, and I would appreciate the fresh battery put into this committee, and I wish you all well. It's going to require a bit of thinking outside the square, and I look forward to the energy and attention that you bring to this project.
So we want to see
We do.
that first part.
So councillors, a mover for
Councillor Cameron.
the nominations, councillor Cameron, thank you. And second, councillor Burgess. Any comments? Thank you so much for your service to your community on this, councillors. All those in favour of the motion?
The second,
That's unanimous.
so the second part of the motion is to deal with the community nominations in closed session because the submissions involve personnel matters of that individuals. So
Just take some advice from the CEO that I'm in a position to chair while that goes into the floor.
well, all you're doing is moving it into confidential. I think when it goes into confidential, if you've got a conflict, you move out. Yeah.
Could I have a mover to
Happy to move that into confidential.
Butler Cameron, sorry, councillors Butler and councillor Cameron. I'm getting too succinct. All those, any comments before we vote?
Do not need to see if there's any objections. Do not need to see if there's any objections from the public as to the constitution. You don't request that, I understand.
We normally do. Thank you, councillor Carter. Do I have any objections from the public on going into confidential? I've got lots of head shakes. Thank you. Thank you. Normally the public would be in front
Yes, I
of
know.
me, and so I've got to
I can see
remember
that.
to look in my rear vision mirror. Thank you. Councillors, noting this, we'll now put this item to the vote if I have no further comments. Okay. Councillors, have happy to vote to put it to confidential? And that's unanimous, thank you. Yes, so we're now looking at our late report, item 6.15.
So is it a
Through you, Madam Mayor, there's an alternate that I'd like to pass on to the board for this late report.
You have the floor, Councillor.
I believe that Katie has the alternate.
Will you just give us a minute because
Okay.
we've just switched computers.
No problem. I can read out the alternate. So, the alternate reads that 1, in principle support be granted to the seniors villa proposal at 1 Macintosh Circuit, Marbaman, to investigate water and sewer servicing further. And 2, in principle support be granted to the Marchmont Racecourse proposal for water supply connection in Gums Lane based on 20 kilolitres per event and 520 kilolitres per annum for a maximum of 200 people attending an event, approximately 3 equivalent attendants, for toilet change room and canteen use until additional water supply is secured to Yass Valley. The water supply connection is not to be used for irrigation of the course or grounds. Sure.
Councillors, we have a seconder? Is that
No.
for a question? Just wait.
Yeah,
a
second one.
Do we have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Carter beat to the punch. Oh, there's a bit of a...
Just official thing.
Okay,
I said
Councillor
councillor.
Burgess has taken that one, so thank you. So for the left report, we have a motion put forward by Councillor Butler, seconded by Councillor Burgess. Councillor Butler, would you like to speak to your motion and then we'll take the question? Thank you.
Sure. So I'll speak to both of them, really. I think we were already supporting the in principle agreement to allow Macintosh Circuit development to be accessing water if they wanted to proceed with the DA, which I think is really important to note that we are not supporting a seniors villa proposal at this point in time. We're only giving them the green light to put some more funding into creating this DA that will then, maybe come back to us. And then to number 2, I just think that, and just thank you to Kathy who came and spoke to us. I'm so in support of Marchmont Racecourse. And I think it's a wonderful asset to the entire community. And I think that we would be silly as a council not to support that.
Councillor Cameron, a question.
To the chair, your good subject. I forget the Latin even though I studied it for 4 years in a Catholic school. Can we separate this motion into 2 parts? Do you know the Latin?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I forget what it's called.
sorry, if the mover and the seconder are happy to do that, then that can be done by consensus.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor, what would be the purpose of separating them?
So that I can vote for one in favour and one against.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I am happy to separate them.
Okay, so in that case, we're looking at 2 motions and we'll amend the first to just the in principle that support be granted to the seniors villa and so on and so on. So dropping off 2 for the level.
Yeah, so just so that we've already got a mover and a seconder for
Was the seconder also in favour? Can I just?
Councillor Burgess.
Councillor Burgess. You just separate that for now? Okay, thank you, Councillor Burgess.
So move it then, Councillor Butler, and seconded by Councillor Burgess for first part. So speakers for and against, and then vote.
Okay, so we're back again. Councillors, Councillor Butler, can I just take it that you've spoken to your motion earlier? We'll open it up to the floor. Do we have any speakers against the villa proposal?
Just a question first of all, Madam Chair, to the Director of Infrastructure Assets. Maybe it does not, I may have missed it, my apologies if I did that. Doesn't note the actual potential usage of our water resources through that. Would you be able to estimate what that is? We do have that for a conversation with respect to March month, but not with respect to the senior villa proposal. Would you be able to clarify?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so the understanding is that the development will be between 40 to 50 units, which is equivalent to 40 to 50 houses or equivalent tenements.
It's easy.
Okay. Councillors, any other questions regarding this?
Yeah, just to briefly speak against it, I'm just not sure how, does it fit into any sort of master plan for Marbaman? I'm not quite sure. I think there was some discussion that, an age, I think David Rowe made the point that, an aged care facility was something that was desirable. It seems to me to be, personally, it seems to me to be in a bit of an odd place. It's well away from the centre of Marbaman, if there is such a thing, sorry. I'm sorry. At the end.
I'm not wrong, Rick.
Okay, thank you. Good, I'll quote you on that. I'll quote you on that into the future. I'm just not sure about this plan. I'm not sure whether I want to give it a go here, but at the moment, I think it's another development with basically 40 or 50 houses in a spot. I'm a little bit uneasy about it in terms of the water resources being used as well. I think water is going to be a crucial issue. Somebody made the point the other day, if we have a drought, we're going to be in a totally different picture. So I'm not in favour of this.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you.
Councillor Carter.
Can I ask another question, sorry, Director of Infrastructure Assets? Since the dam wall was raised, could you give me some information on the kind of lowest capacity that we've had since that activity has, since the wall itself was raised, just for clarity? Because I know water is an issue. For us, it'd be good to know where we've got to with respect to a minimum or reduction in interest.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so since the dam wall has been raised, we haven't actually had to be on water restrictions. We've been lucky that we haven't had the millennial drought that we had back in 2006, I think it was. Don't quote me on that, but luckily enough, we haven't had that easy period of time since the wall's been raised, but the risk is obviously there that it will happen again.
Any further questions or comments regarding this?
I'll just make one comment about it, which is that, we haven't obviously seen any further application about this. This is merely about the potential use of water. I do have some similar questions about, is this the right site for this type of proposal? There is quite a lot of media around about some of the negative elements of these types of purchase arrangements where, in fact, senior residents often end up having to lose quite a lot of money when they come to resale at a later point in time. I don't have a proposal in front of me, but that tends to be the type of senior villas proposal that emerges here. The question about safety, walking from this particular spot down to the local supermarkets and other issues, I think will be something we'll need to consider when a full application comes to council. But from a water perspective, at this moment, I'm happy to vote for the proposal.
Councillors, I'll just ask our Director of Planning and Environmental Services to make a comment.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor, just in response to what you've said, there is a state policy that relates to this type of housing, so that is, that's what would be applied in this particular case, and all those issues can be fleshed out in the development application.
Councillors, as the former chair of the Economic Development Committee, I can share with you that housing was very front of mind in our investigations and our paper on affordable housing. and the absolute dearth of options to downsize from rural properties or larger blocks, and the loss in our community of a wealth of skills and the kind of people that will volunteer for things you lose when you don't have options in your housing stock. And the turnover for Marbaman prior to the school was getting as high as 36 or 40%. I'd like to see what that looks like now that we have a school, but I can imagine that without the smaller blocks to retire to, Marbaman in and of itself is probably lacking in this area. It's certainly the settlement strategy that we have speaks to providing options for our community to maintain their connectivity with the community, and that is to be done in those two key areas of Yass and Marbaman as the major development centres, and not so much other areas that have already had their bookend developments, such as Gundaroo. If you're happy to give the in-principle support to this, we can now take it to a vote, as long as the mover is happy that we're any closing comments. Okay, all right. Councillors, let's vote. Are all those in favour of the motion in front of you? So all for except Councillor Cameron. Councillor Burgess, you were for? Yeah, you're right? Great. Okay. So one against you. Thank you. Councillors, now moving to the next item, which for the purposes of the report is 6.15B. 2, thank you. 2. Okay. Do we have a mover for that? Can I assume Councillor Carter, Councillor Cameron? Okay, would the mover like to speak? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to the motion, Madam Mayor. I think this, we have to give all credit, I think, to this type of development across the region. I think there's enough of a differentiation between this type of activity, which I would broadly put into the region of economic development and tourism and the like. I don't think this sits as a traditional rural development. There might be worries concerning other uses of land in that particular space. I want to give credit to the Trust and for the work they've been doing. It's an excellent piece of work. I think it brings great credit to the region. I know a number of my colleagues, when I was in Canberra, talked a lot about coming out to the picnic races and enjoying that type of event, which is something that's quite hard to have these days. I think, and even given that Canberra's ACT government's looking to actually move their own race course, I think we might have options here for even further work in this particular space. So my credit goes to this, and I think supporting the benefits to the community of an ongoing commitment to equestrian, which I think the region is well known for now, I think is something that we should be genuinely in support of. So my thanks to the opportunity to speak to the motion then.
Do we have any speakers against? Any further speakers for?
I think it's a great idea.
That's what I was trying to say.
Councillors, as we saw in the briefing when I showed the prospectus, and I just want to point out that just for transparency, that both Mr. Graham Shaw for the previous one and Ms. Catherine Bennett attended the Mondays with the Mayor session, which was very fortuitous given the late reports that were coming before us. It was my pleasure to re-look at that prospectus to see that this is the kind of project that would inject annually, according to their conservative figures, approximately $1 million annually into the community. I think this won't set a precedent in terms of access to other rural residential blocks. Very serendipitous that the town connection is in the neighbouring property. Sometimes it's best not to ask why that happened, but nevertheless, there it is, and it's I think it's a wonderful opportunity to build resilience in our community as well in terms of bushfire fighting, and I commend the recommendation that Councillor Carter put forward. So if there's no further comments, excuse me, I'm having a little tickle in my throat, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, unanimous. And I'll just discretionary supervisor. All right, questions with notice. Councillors, are you happy to take that as accepted, given that we can't ask any further questions on those? Thank you. Can I have a mover that they're noted? Councillor Butler. Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Moving forward to the
Recommendations of the youth council.
yes, the minutes of the youth council. Sorry, I was thinking, is that in all the public minutes? Okay, so since we don't have the actual chair of that present, and I would like to acknowledge Councillor Floffin to work on that previously, could we have a mover and a second for that?
Like to move.
Okay, Councillor Carter, Councillor Rothwell. Any comments?
Just very quickly, so what a fantastic initiative. I remember back in my day when I sat in the New Zealand Youth Parliament, right back in, a year ago, I don't want to mention right now, but a long time ago. The core idea, of course, is I think this is a great opportunity for people to understand what happens and how these things happen. And I think ultimately we need to listen more to what Youth Council is talking about. I think a number of their comments are fantastic, valuable, insightful, and I hope all councillors have been able to look through those recommendations with care and understand where that's come from. My thanks to former Councillor Popham for the work and leading that outstanding body for the community.
Any further comments? I think you're ready to vote, councillors. All those in favour? That's unanimous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Noting that Councillor Cameron has left the building. Sorry, and 1, 2, 3. Yes, we still have quorum. Just checking. Okay. Moving on to the confidential matters, I will ask the public gallery if there's any comment on the closure into this, noting that we have an obligation when these items are considered to protect the privacy of the nominees. Any comments? We are good to go. Thank you for your time in the public gallery. We're about to go into closed session of council. Can I have a mover into confidential? Councillor Chari and seconder. Councillor Rothwell. We'll just wait for our gallery to clear. Thank you so much for your time.
But thanks for the honour.
Oh, you did a fantastic job. Put it on your CV.
Well, that's the 5 minutes I was looking for.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Okay, so,
Has council accepted the next one? Yeah.
yep, so we're packing open council. Okay, so, the recommendations, you can scroll down, the recommendation for community members for the Yass Pool Committee, Yass Pool Redevelopment Committee, Hugh Rain, Donna Ward, and then people who are not members of the Yass Swim Club but are community members are Beck Duncan, Sarah Watson, and Laurie Cole. Okay, so that's the recommendation coming out of the closed session. We need a mover and a second to accept that.
Back into the.
All those.
Yes.
Point of order, I'm not for that, just delete my Kate Butler.
Thank you for doing that, Councillor Butler. Oh, that's right, so it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we still have quorum, just, okay. So councillors Burgess, Cameron, Carter, Chari and Rothwell accepting that into.
So the moved out of closed session was Councillor Burgess, Councillor Cherry.
Thank you.
So the recommendation that I've just read out, need a mover and a seconder for that.
So do we just have, sorry, Councillor Butler, you were noting an issue with it. Do we have a mover? So Councillor Rothwell, Councillor Chari. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors. Any objections? Okay. And now that we've accepted those into the minutes, we're going to now just close the meeting. We've been told we don't have to officially vote out, so we close the meeting at 7:58. Thank you, councillors, for your contribution.
I'm just sorry.
We're still in live stream, so thank you for all those watching on live stream, and we're now